Hey out there, Hat Monster here for United We Game, and I am so psyched to finally have the chance to talk about a new personal favorite of mine, Fallout 4. With such a huge world to explore and so much to remember, Fallout 4 is definitely a daunting undertaking for any player, especially if you've never played a game in the Fallout series before. So, since I've had some time to wander around the wastes and learn how the game works, I figured I'd put something together to help you newcomers avoid some of the mistakes I've made and make a fun start on the right foot. With that said, let's dive on into the perk system and get your Vault Dweller ready for life in the Commonwealth. Okay, we've got a lot to cover here, but before we can talk about perks, I need to briefly touch on Fallout's special system. The basic gist of it is that your special is more or less the governing attributes of your character. In Fallout games past, the amount of points that you can invest in special was more limited, but it had a broader range of effects. However, all you need to know about special in Fallout 4 is that it governs which perks are available for you to choose. The more points that you put into your strength, perception, endurance, charisma, intelligence, agility, and luck, the deeper you can go on this chart when selecting perks. Something to keep in mind is that even though Fallout 4 has no level cap and you can, eventually, max out each special stat, your initial character build is still important because you're going to want access to certain perks as early as possible. Combat perks in particular, which we'll be covering in just a sec. Before doing anything else, I highly recommend choosing a combat specialization and then investing in it. You won't be limited to this for most of the game, don't worry, but it's just best to have some form of proficiency when you're just starting out. It'll give you something to focus on and save you a lot of headaches when taking on tougher enemy types like Mirelurks or Deathclaws or Raider Reavers. Hopefully you won't be running into the Deathclaws, but you never know. Anyway, each combat style has its own related perk. Gunslinger for semi-automatic handguns, Rifleman for semi-automatic rifles, Commando for all automatic weapons, pistols and rifles alike, Big Leagues for melee weapons like knives, Iron Fist for unarmed attacks and punching weapons like the Power Fist, and finally Heavy Gunner for all heavy weapons like miniguns, flamers, missile launchers, and especially the Fat Man. I enjoy using non-automatic rifles the most, so I opted to invest in the Rifleman perk early on. Just scrolling up there for you to see it. As you can see, I have advanced 3 out of 5 ranks so far, so I'm doing about 60% more damage and ignoring 20% of armor. All the combat specializations increase damage for their weapon type, but each has a secondary effect that's different from the others. For example, ranking up the Commando perk grants better hip fire, whereas my Rifleman has been granting armor penetration. Hipfire is non-scoped accuracy, by the way. Which one of these you invest in is entirely dependent on your playstyle and the sort of damage you want to do, so choose what you like and stick with it. Oh, and as far as these perks are concerned, there is no distinction between normal guns and energy weapons. For example, semi-automatic laser rifles and plasma pistols are governed by the Rifleman and Gunslinger perks, respectively. So again, it's just a matter of which weapon profile you like most. The game isn't going to force you to dither over subtypes. And also remember that you're not going to be locked out of the other weapon types. You can still use them, you just won't be as effective with them. Now, I also have a couple other general recommendations before you get started. First, I recommend putting at least 3 points into strength in order to unlock the Armorer perk. This is the perk that's going to enable you to craft and improve your armor, which in turn will enable you to survive longer in any given fight. See right there? Protect yourself. You gotta. Rank it up, and eventually you're just going to be able to outclass everybody in the wastes. And that's what Fallout's all about, right? But next, I'm going to say put at least 6 points into intelligence. This will grant you access to the gun nut and science perks, which you'll want for the same reason as the armor perk. More powerful guns equals an easier time in the wastes. Science affects both armor and guns in terms of available upgrades, but is most important to power armor and energy weapon upgrades. If you don't care about either of those, then this one isn't going to be as important to you. So if you opt out of it, that's understandable. Still, if you don't want it, then keep at least 4 points in intelligence so that you can get to the hacker perk. You can start out hacking novice terminals without anything in this, but you're going to want to grab it and rank it up as soon as you can, because the more advanced terminals usually block access to things that contain nice loot. In fact, the harder it is to get into a place or get into a terminal, the better the loot is probably protecting. Next, put 4 points into perception to unlock the locksmith perk. Just like with hacker, it'll allow you to get into things that you normally couldn't. And remember, good rule of thumb is that lock place equals better loot. The more secure it is, the nicer the stuff's going to be. Finally, you'll want at least 2 points into luck in order to get the Fortune Finder and Scrounger perks. Fortune Finder's nice, but Scrounger's the one you want here, because every rank in it means finding more and more ammo in various containers. Now, you won't exactly be hurting for ammo without it, but finding more of it also means finding more fusion cores. Well, possibly. At least more than you would without it. So a rank or 2 in the perk is definitely worth it. Now, what are fusion cores? Well, they're what's going to enable you to use one of the coolest things in Fallout 4, power armor. And believe me, you want that. Anyway, this is just a rough guide to perks that I think will be the most helpful to you in the early game. It's by no means the right way to build your character, just the way I think will help you get through those early levels with the least amount of pain. I hope you found this helpful, and if you'd like to know more about power armor and fusion core locations, then just stay tuned for the next video. And, maybe throw us a like for this one. Just a thought. If you have any questions or comments about perks and special in Fallout 4, please add them to the comment section below. I'm happy to help, and also happy to learn if I got any of this wrong. Thanks.